This day, my program, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because in there, excuse the dogs. Excuse me on the tier.
Excuse me on the tier. Been a long road, been some long years. Concrete pillow, I am bed. Whole lot of silence in my head. Check out our new station. Channel of my life in rotation. Used to only play pain and rage. Now I'm flipping to a different way. Like it's time.
Excuse me on the tier. This time, we're back with Geoff Newman, also known as PICS. PICS and I first met each other in Lancaster around 2001, and it was nice circling up with him. Here's Geoff. How you doing, brothers?
Well, thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it. Nice to see you again. So yeah, my name's Geoff. Last name's Newman, aka PICS. So I ended up being in prison. I committed a murder in 1996. I was found guilty of second-degree murder. Got a life sentence. Ended up, landed my ass in Lancaster. I ended up meeting you in 2001. At that time, I think I'd already been there for 2 or 3 years. And, it was, it was pretty chaotic at that time. Oh yeah, the smash outs, man. The cops used to, it was Smackdown Thursday, if you remember. Somebody was going to get checked. It would say, and the cops already all knew about it, man. It was great. They'd go sit in the center line of the fence and they'd just try to sit and take bets on who was going to get smashed that day. And so, yeah, we would have our Smashdown Thursday where whoever had to get checked, they'd get checked on Thursday and either get removed from the yard or, they'd get in line. Other than that, man, it was a drug-infested, chaotic-infested yard at that time. I mean, we had, every day there was something going on. And I think right around in 2001, we had a big old giant riot. I mean, almost the full yard. It was chaos. And, yeah, those were some pretty heavy times back then. But we would have some good times. We'd have some relaxation time and shit. But pretty much most of the time it was chaotic, and there was always some kind of fucking bullshit going on. We'd be back in the vocational, cutting up cars, making knives, making swords. Just to prepare, we'd have people. Remember, we'd have people on weapon detail. I forgot who it was. He'd make up all the weapons because he'd just do them all real good. He'd make up all the weapons, bring them to us because we worked at yard crew. We'd put a crew out on the yard, give them all the weapons, and they'd go bury them all right around the white's table and stuff. And we were always ready. Fuck, man, it's been a long time, especially going back that far. But yeah, when you came along, it even got more chaotic, but we had a little more control. It was good. We finally had our own system of things. Yeah, because I remember it was before you got there. I first had got onto that yard. And this was my second term, but my first term was level 3, and I was doing a 2-year thing. It wasn't really shit. Still learning the way around prison and what it was like being born into that new world. And I remember getting on that yard and really seeing my first fucking motherfucker get whacked. And two guys came up, and my homeboys came over, and they said, "Hey, come over here, sit with us." And I sat down, and they were like, "Just watch over there." I'm watching, and man, one of the guys was walking with the guy with his arm around his neck, and his partner came up behind him and hit him in the back. And oh man, when he hit him in the back, it's like I could feel it. It took my breath away. And as he hit that guy hit him in the back. The guy with his arm around his neck cut his throat. And it kind of gets to you. It takes your breath away. It makes you queasy. This is the first time you're really on a really fully active level 4 yard with. In this yard, you're talking, it was stacked with whites. It was one of the biggest yards of the white population that I've been in. I mean, there was a good 180 of us, and everybody was solid. Because the yard was a paperwork yard. We checked everybody's paperwork. We had people in program, and everywhere that we knew who was coming on the yard. We knew what time it was with people, and every one of those 180 dudes, white dudes on that yard would fill their hand, and that just made it. I mean, it gave you a sense of comfort knowing that, hey, everybody's here to watch everybody's back, but it also led to some chaos. I mean, there was a lot of tension because, with the population of whites that's that big, with the Mexican population and the black population, we were pretty evened out. So there wasn't, it would come down to, sometimes we'd have a riot with the Mexicans, and I remember the first riot we had there with the Mexicans, and after we came off lockdown, they were like, "Oh, well, you know what? We want this table back," and we were like, "Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about it tomorrow." And I would just go in and we put everybody on mandatory yard. Everybody come out strapped in the morning. Mexicans would come over to the table, and they're like, "Why are there 100 motherfucking white dudes here? I thought we had an understanding." And we like, yeah, well, that understanding was one-sided. So a lot of tension with that. But, being in prison the first time wasn't so bad in level 3. Getting that 4 yard, you really get a feel for it. And you could tell. I mean, there were times you could just tell the tension was so thick, you could just cut it with our little spork that we had. And those were, especially with the drugs. Sometimes we come out and there'd be yard debts. You'd have the yard debt, and the yard debt was, hey, your white guys owe us fucking, $8,000, and how you gonna pay the bill? And we come out there with like an ounce of dope and slap it on the table and just tell them, here, here's a fucking ounce of speed, fucking squash that 8,000, and they're like, okay, cool. Well, that wasn't a good idea, because now we wake up in the morning and we got fucking 180 fucking tweaked out Mexicans all around the fucking yard to track, squatted down, and we're like, oh fuck. So it got pretty fucking weird some of the times, and then I remember that the warden came to us and told us no more SmackDown Thursdays, because they got a new warden there, and he's like, no more SmackDown Thursdays, and we were like, okay. So from then on out, it was everybody that got removed from the yard went out on a life flight. We would just come out and just, they were getting whacked with some fucking shit that was like this light. I remember it. I think it was your celly. He came out and whacked. Yeah, he came out, and it was my homeboy, but that got whacked, and but it was a thing that I've already tried to check this dude. I've taken his shit, put him on restriction, and he comes off a restriction, goes back and does the same shit. And so Andy, came out there and fucking hit him with a piece in the back. And I remember the fucking tip of that fucking knife came out the front. And I was like, and I watched it. I just stayed away from it and fucking watched it. And then I watched my homeboy walk back and barely made it back to the building before he went down. And life flight him out. But when we started life flighting people out, the warden didn't like that either. He wanted to fucking, he wanted us to stop doing that, but we tried to tell him. And, we already got, we had SmackDown Thursday. Everything was working fine. Nobody was getting too fucked up.
So, special shout out to Joe Dersma. That incident on the yard with Andy and I was one of the more heavier incidents. So, wrapping up the SmackDown Thursdays and the increase in violence, after getting out, Geoff, did you experience any new post-incarceration syndromes or any PTSD?
Well, shit. Look, and I don't like going around crowds, I'll tell you that. It's always, in prison we got this, it's, they stay to their side, we stay to our side, our side of the day room, everybody fucking knows our side of the day room, our drinking fountain, our shower, their drinking fountain, their phones. And, out here, it's different because, I get around too many people. I remember getting out and I couldn't even deal with, going to the grocery store. I had to go get some toothpaste one time, and I went down the toothpaste aisle. This is like probably my first week out. Went to the toothpaste aisle, and I got to get some toothpaste, and I just started getting these pressure headaches. I just sat down in the middle of the aisle. I remember one of my counselors, because I was in a program, they took us out there to the supermarket to get our shit. He came back in, see me sitting in the middle of the aisle. He's like, "What's wrong?" I go, "I need some toothpaste." And he goes, "Well, get some fucking toothpaste. It's all right there." I go, "Yeah, but there's 300 fucking different toothpaste right here. And in prison, I got fucking, Colgate or fucking Aquafresh." So I had a hard time. Same thing with coming home. I remember coming home and, stopped at Jack in a Box. My homeboy picked me up, or stopped at Jack in a Box. He's like, "What do you want?" And, Jack in a Box menu ain't that fucking big, like maybe fucking 7 or 8 different hamburgers. I couldn't even fucking pick a hamburger. He's like, "Man, go sit down. I got this." So, even that first couple months was pretty rough. And the PTSD, it's definitely there. My wife talks about it all the time. She will sit and just be like, "There's just shit that you do that it comes from prison," and she'll tell you because she catches it more than I do. She's like, "You're doing this, you do this," Still to this day, my program, I get up at 4:00 in the morning because in there, excuse the dogs. Get me on the tier. Shut up.
Yeah, so I would think that the viewers would probably like to know kind of a little bit more of how we got to know each other, how we met, and what was the climate like on the yard back then.
How I met James. Okay, I remember when James came on the yard. It was cool. It was another white boy. It was another solid white boy, and we had another solid white boy on the fucking yard. And James was a no bullshit motherfucker. He was, But I remember when you came on the yard for that first couple weeks, you just kind of laid back. Same thing we all do. If you're around that many motherfuckers, you kind of lay back, sit back, watch the lay of the land, learn who's who's got the keys to what, who's running what, and just kind of get the lay of things. And then it was, we had somebody bringing in the dope. We had somebody to bring in the fucking clavo all the time, and we didn't have to fucking, go out and hunt all that dope down. But And when I talk about bringing clavo, that's when we were paying the fucking Mexicans the fucking ounce of dope on the table, ounce of speed on the table. And it was just that much. And it was, fuck, back in that day, it got so horrible. It was so funny in our building. I remember walking the building and it just smelled like fucking 3 flowers and fucking baby oil. And you had to know that the cops knew what the fuck was going on, because you'd walk by all these fucking white cells and everybody be tinted up and everybody's in there just fucking doing their thing. So that was some pretty crazy shit right there. But after a couple of days of doing that shit, it started to get crazy. I remember going to fucking James's cell, and he'd be sitting in there with his cellie, and I go in, we have a drink or do a shot or fucking whatever, and I look down and James sitting there on the bottom rack, feet up on the stool, and got his fucking piece right there, sitting next to him, just tripping. Like fucking anybody fucking does anything, it's just on and cracking. And I don't even remember who it was. I remember one night you guys fucking, somebody wanted to spend the night over there. That wasn't your cellie. We switched cells with somebody. And you guys were both in there with fucking blades. I was like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. These motherfuckers are going to be...
Yeah, Piss. You're talking about when me and Roy Corbett, rest in peace, who committed suicide on 3505 in Folsom State Prison after this incident. We were up in there, and yeah, I was in fear for my life. He was in fear for his. Didn't know what was going to happen. But there was all kinds of other stuff happening. Like, I wasn't Suge Knight's people there or something? If you could kind of tell us about that.
Yeah, it was Suge. Suge was in fucking A building, or he was in 1. We were all in 5. Because I remember I was in 1. I was living right up above Suge, and that motherfucker wouldn't come out of that cell. He was they let that motherfucker do special showers during count and all that crap. It was kind of fucking weird. And then the Hoover Crips, they just wanted to get that motherfucker. Well, yeah, it's kind of hard to remember way back then sometimes, especially, where we are now, and not trying to glorify, what we did, but still try to communicate it so other people can understand what we went through. But yeah, I remember fucking with the whole incident with Jamie and Micah. They had the keys to the yard. And that's when we were just like, they were doing all that shit. The blacks had all that shit in the toilet. That was a big fuck up too on Jamie and Micah's part, because those blacks were bringing in so much heroin. They had so much cash, so much dope. They were paying the cops off. I think they even found a gun in there, right?
Man, I remember I was in the back on the concrete yards on A Gray, and here comes all those guys, and it was the whole rage around Lancaster that they had been smuggling out these tapes, saying they didn't give a fuck and this and that, the other. It's such a wild time. And as far as the gun goes, I'm not clear on
like with the Micah thing. That was a big thing, because when the fucking IGI and the squad came in, they came in deep that night, and they hit that building, and the blacks, they were sitting there slinging them at the door, trying to fight these motherfuckers off, while the cellies trying to stash all that shit. And then, like you said, they found all those tapes, the videos. When the videos came apparent, and then it was, you had these white dudes that had the keys to the yard. It really looked fucking bad, because the white dudes had the keys to the yard, were in the black dude's cell, shooting up the dope in the black dude's cell while the black dudes were filming it, with all the cash laid out and everything all over the table. That's when we fucking finally were like, yeah, we got to remove these dudes because that's not something that we do. And that was a big removal. And then after that, that's when we kind of took a little bit more control. Remember, like you said, Beast in them, the skins. Nobody wanted to give the skins the keys or anything. Because I had the keys to 5 Block because I went over there to 5 Block with you, and we put fucking Ronnie Himmel, the key holder for the yard. And there's another thing that a lot of people, I don't know if people understand it or anything with the recall. I don't know if anybody knows about recalls out there and shit, but we used to get fucking recalls where, we'd be on the yard and a kite will come, someone will come out released from the hole with a kite saying, hey, fucking so-and-so, you're recalled. Hey, James, you're recalled. Or, Pitt, you're recalled. And what that meant was that we had to go do something because somebody back in the back needed to talk to us about something we were doing. So we'd have to go do something on the yard, get back to the hole, and fucking, get counseled or whatever it would be, and go back, check in, fucking, get our marching orders or what it might be. Or get checked and told that who they want doing shit, what they want doing. I remember, I think it was when I was on D-Yard, when they started releasing all the Mexicans from fucking segregation up in the Bay, all the indeterminate shoes and shit. And the Mexicans would come out from the shoe, and they'd come down there with kites talking about, hey, your big homies and stuff up in the Bay. They say you guys aren't doing enough down here. You need to fucking start doing shit. You're all fucking comfortable because this is your backyard, and nobody wants to. And I was like, you're fucking kidding me, dude. These motherfuckers, everybody going out of here is going out on a fucking helicopter. What the fuck are you talking about? So, and I remember talking about that shit because Mike Thompson was my cellie, like back in, I think it was 2009, I believe, somewhere around there. Mike Thompson was my cellie. He came in, they told him, fucking, hey, we got Mike Thompson. You know who he is? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, we need to find a cell for him. But I remember talking with Mike, too, about all that shit. I ended up in Jamestown. We started up the pup program, and that was, that was later on after I decided to get clean, try to stay out of the mix. It just got to a point where I got sick and tired of being sick and tired and exhausted and stressed about where I was going to get because everything back then, like when we were on Lancaster, it was about where am I going to get my dope in the morning? How much dope can I get, and then figure out how the fuck I was going to pay for it, So it was just like a revolving door of just stress and tension the whole time, and it got me and my homeboys Squirt. We were so bad. I remember one time Jamie and Micah came out on the yard and they pull us up because they had the keys, and they're like, "Well, if you guys are getting into too much debt, you guys are everybody's red flagged." Fucking soon as the connection walked by, I mean, we're in a circle and they're telling us this, shoot red flag, no more buying dope. Soon as the fucking dope connection, my fucking homeboy, my cellie Squirt, he tells the connection, hey, you got a 50 paper? And the key holders are like, motherfucker, really? We just red flagged you. We're like, yeah, well, yeah, you can't run us all off the yard, because at that time, Lancaster, we were pretty fucking, the Long Beach car was pretty deep, and we were fucking linked up with the Dago car, so you weren't running all off the yard.
Randy Dowds.
Huh?
Randy Dowds, and a shout out to Deb.
Oh yeah, Randy. Fucking Randy was there. Poor Randy. Didn't know the whole story. I, from what I understood, he was doing some fucking shit he shouldn't have been doing, and he should have known better because he's been other places, not like Donovan, and one of the fucking northern Mexicans got him on the fucking handball court right up underneath. I think it was right up underneath the fucking left armpit, right through the heart. Got him, put him down. So, and that was one of my little homeboys. So, yeah, we've lost quite a few. I don't even know what happened with Joe. I don't know if he lived or died.
Man, Joe Dersma, I still have a living amends and need to reach out to Joe, but the last that I heard from him, he was in Salinas Valley, alive and well in programming. I think he's still serving a sentence of 56 years to life. Change is real. So when did you start to, I think you said your father passed away, and then that's when your rock bottom came. That was around 2011.
Yeah.
Is that when your change began?
Oh, 2011 was my clean date. I just decided in prison, man, I was just tired of the stress. I mean, it was a constant, it was already stressful. I mean, people don't understand that. I try to tell them, I mean, I know a kid right now just got a life sentence for, defending himself, and actually stabbed some guy that was assaulting him out here on the streets, and they just gave him a life sentence for fucking defending himself. And I'm trying to let them know that, hey, it's like being born into a different world. And it is a different world, but in the world is, because it's its own little cosmos of things. It doesn't matter what prison you're at. Everything follows. It's the 33 prisons in California, and that shit's a small world. It's not just the prison yard you're on. That shit goes, and it travels around, and it's you just know everybody, and it's just a whole fucking place of just men. And it gets pretty hectic. So in 2011, I was in the hole. I ended up going to CMC. I got my points down, and I went to CMC. I was trying to just program and get out. CMC was just fucking nothing like, what we were used to. So it was a whole different experience to me. It was like fucking free for all. It was weird. So anyway, it was like 2007, 2008 or something. I was there. They were like, "Who are you here to kill?" I'm like, because the squad's got my record. They know what was coming. As soon as I get off the bus, they fucking jack me to the side, interrogation and all this shit. And I'm like, look, man, I came from this yard. I'm trying to program and get a parole date. I'm done. Validate me at CMC. They had me under investigation for so long. They were just watching everything I was doing. I kind of it got too loose for me. I had a knee surgery, and I started doing fucking, morphines, and that kind of led to a relapse. I stayed clean for like 4 years, and then I relapsed on morphine again, and shooting morphine. And then I was like, well, I need to support my morphine habit. So I started, buying fucking cans of Bugler for big faces, $100 bills. And I lasted on that yard for about, I think it maybe was 10 months. And then they just snatched me. And CMC is a fucking pussy-ass, fucking easy-ass prison, I'm telling you. But being in that hole, these cells are like, I don't know if people have been to Quentin or fucking Soledad and shit. The cells are real small, and they're all tin. The walls aren't that solid brick that we're used to on newer level 4 shit yards, the 270s. It's just hot. So I'm stuck in this fucking hole for 8 years. Single cell, no bigger than a fucking tiny ass bathroom, hot as fuck. We're one of the worst, little tiny window like this. And then they put these fucking plates along the bottom of the door where you can't fish. And we would have to get on our back our ass up to the door and put our feet in the tray slot and fucking lift the tray slot up so we could try just to get shit under the door. I remember one time there was a guy fishing like right across from me, and he had his feet up in there, and he was dragging something out, and he fucking dropped the door down, and it just chopped the fucking tip of his finger off. Right now, we're trying to fish his finger back into the cell. So then you had to fucking try to fish with arrows through the little fucking mouse hole in the corner of the cell. So that got a little fucking traumatizing. I remember that they came to me about 8 years in, and they were like, well, we're going to send you up to high desert. And I was like, yeah, you ain't sending me to fucking high desert from fucking CMC. Bumped your head. But when I was in the hole then, my dad passed away. And you would think that, getting to the bottom of the barrel was committing murder and getting a life sentence and fucking your whole life off. But that wasn't the bottom barrel with me. We still made it to Lancaster, did all this chaotic fucking shit too. And it was my dad dying. And I remember at that time thinking, my dad probably would have stayed alive, but I remember when we were on the Lancaster yards, and every weekend it was calling up Dad, hey, I need you to send $1,000 here for this. I got a dope debt, or broke this dude's TV, whatever we would tell him. All this stressful shit. And when he died, I was like, if I didn't stress this motherfucker out all these times, he might still be alive to see me parole. So that was my bottom of the barrel, and that was in 2011, and when he passed away. It was April 2011, and that was basically my clean date. And I got clean, got out of the hole, and ironic thing of it is they sent me back to Lancaster, which is just fucking horrible. But I ended up getting transferred out of Lancaster, going up to Tehachapi. And in Tehachapi is where we got a new governor, because all those years it was Schwarzenegger and them telling us, hey, only way your lifers are getting out of prison is in a pine box. And finally they were about to give us some action. I was like, okay, fuck, there's some light at the edge of the tunnel, because my whole plan was, my dad died, I'm going to get a little bit of inheritance money, and I'm going to go out and buy a bunch of dope. I'm going to just fucking party till like it's 1999, and then I'm going to OD and fucking be out of here. But that put some light in the fucking shit, so I just kind of kept the course. And, I transferred from ended up getting into a little fuck up thing. You remember? Who was it? Was fucking, what was that fucker's name? Mike? No, he came on the yard and he started pumping up these youngsters, right? My thing was, I'm sitting back just staying out of the mix. Just staying in the shadows. I know who I am. I know what I can do. I've been doing it longer than all these motherfuckers. And my thought was, fucking fuck with me, I'll make you famous, motherfucker. If you can fuck with me, I'll make you famous. And the cops knew that too at Tehachapi. And I guess they had got wind of fucking youngsters coming after one of my homeboys up there. And they did this shit right in front of me, and the cops knew it was coming. They were like, oh, fucking PICS is going to get involved. And sure enough, fucking it all went down. Fucking getting ready to go through work change and a little fucking mini riot between us little Long Beach motherfuckers and these, I think they were from fucking Madeira County or some little youngsters. Thought they were like 23 years old, wanting to be skinheads and shit. And just got their orbital bones fucking broken, jaws broken, and all this shit. I mean, we just fucking smashed them. And it put us in the Cajun program, and I'm like, okay, fucking, they come talk to me, and I'm like, I'm cool, we're cool. They fucking barked up the wrong tree, and it's all good, but these youngsters, oh, we can't be on the yard with him. And so I ended up in the shoe up there on fucking A yard. fuck, I was up there with fucking Midnight, and Danny Black. So it was, I want to say, I got out of the hole. It was probably 2014, maybe. So it was up there. Well, they couldn't keep me up there because my points were, already down. I was at level 3 points. So that they transferred me up to Jamestown. Went to Jamestown. Ended up doing. We started a pup program out there. We had some good sponsors, some ladies that wanted to fucking do the pup program. And so I was one of the first to start with that. We had 6 of us trainers, and they gave us 6 dogs. And, we trained the dogs. A lot of the cops fucking liked the program. Some people bucked about it and shit, but, it's Jamestown. And they just did the SUDT program. They changed it from SAP to the Substance Use Disorder Treatment. Because I remember the SAP program when we were fucking at Lancaster was, if you want a dope, go to the SAP trailer. Because that's where all the dope was. But I did the SUDT fucking. I ended up becoming a facilitator for the drug and alcohol program. I became a domestic violence counselor and started running domestic violence classes because that's one of the things that really changed my life. I would always sit there and, let me take anger management to deal with my anger. Let me take this, let me take that. And nothing really fucking pinned it down. But when I started doing domestic violence with the counselor in the drug program, he kind of took me under his wings and taught me himself. It just changed my life because it was all about, intimidation, the power and control. So you had intimidation, the fucking verbal abuse, the coercion and threat, and isolation. And these are all the things that we just fucking grow off of in prison, because that's what it's all about. When I went to board, they always ask, parolees, hey, what's all the tattoos for? We all come up with some fuck crazy shit. Oh, I like art, or it was cool. I was like, I'm gonna come up with something that these motherfuckers ain't heard before. And they asked me, what's all the tattoos for? And I said, fucking intimidation. I wanted to look more intimidating. That's why, I got tattoos on my face, tattoos on my head, and I ain't covered up nothing because, where I'm at now, this is the fucking badge of honor, or the persona that I want to. I don't want people to think I'm hiding from something, or got skeletons in my closet or anything. What you see is what you get. It was who I was, and it's memories of what I was doing. But yeah, that was the intimidation thing. And like in prison, we do fucking coercion and threat. It's the big thing. You can go stab that motherfucker, or we're going to stab you. I'm threatening you, I'm coercing you, but we're using a threat. So all this stuff, when I did the domestic violence, it all put it together for me, and I was like, that's me. That's my problem right there. So I worked on that, and I changed all that, and I just immersed myself in the program and tried to, mentor other people that were like, I'm done, and I want to do like you. At first, my partners and stuff were like, hey, dude, you're tripping. You'll be okay. Yeah, you don't want to do no dope. You'll be back here in a week or 2 weeks. And when I didn't come back, they people kind of shunned me. They're not going to do nothing or say nothing, but they just kind of ignore me, give me the cold shoulder and shit. But I didn't care. And then eventually, about 6 months later, everybody was kind of like, you know what? I respect what you did, fucking what you're doing. And matter of fact, a couple of them came to me and said, dude, I want to do the same thing, man. I'm done. This is fucking, it's chaos. So in 2000, it was 2017, went to my second parole, but it was my initial. Got a denial. And, a lot of times with people going to board, and I've dealt with this now with a couple other people that have been going to board that I've been working with and mentoring is, you know, we go to board and we're like, oh man, I hope I don't get that commissioner next time. Or, you know, they told me to work on this. So we come out and we like work on this little thing or this little thing. And then we go back and then the board eats us up again over some other shit we didn't do. So my thing was, you know, I'm not going to just work on what they told me. I'm just going to work on myself. And I'm going to make the changes in myself that I need to make. And it don't matter what commissioner I go in front of, what questions they fucking ask me, because I'm going to have the right answer because I'm a changed man. You know, and, you know, my wife and I talk about it sometimes is being a changed man don't mean fucking crazy motherfucker ain't still in there. You know, you can't take piss out of me. It's still there. But what I do nowadays is I'm able to manage that fucking beast that's in there a lot easier, you know, because I got a lot more skills, a lot more management tools, and you know the bad guy's still in there, but I keep him under control and I manage my behaviors. So I ended up filing for a second board hearing. Went in there, had a lot of support from, you know, correctional officers because they've worked with us with the dog programs and stuff, which was great. I had that support. But I also had all the right answers, and, you know, they said, hey, we'll find you suitable. And it was almost like that first stabbing that I seen. Just kind of takes your breath away. It brings tears to your eyes. And then, you know, you got to wait that 6 months for, you know, the governor to either approve it or disapprove it. Governor Newsom was in. God bless the Democrats, even though I'm a Republican. But hey, Democrats don't care. They're going to let everybody out of prison because they don't give a shit. I was the second person that Gavin Newsom approved to get out of prison. And yeah, there was a guy before me that was at Valley State that went just before me, and he got approved, and then I got approved. And I got out in 2019. I had to go to a program because I'm a lifer. I don't got no more family member. My dad's dead now. I don't got nobody. I went back to my neighborhood. I went into a program called Safe Refuge, which was really good. You know, the state, paroles, everybody, they paid for everything. It was a rough time because it was COVID, so that was a whole nother fucking story. But as I was in there, you know, I had, you know, when we go into parole board, you got to have a parole plan. So I had a parole plan, but, you know, I wasn't one of these ones that I copied off of somebody else's shit. I made my own fucking plan. And when I got out, I just stuck with that plan. And that plan was to, you know, usually we want to, if we've been in treatment before and we worked in treatment, you know, we want to work in treatment. So I was like, you know, okay, maybe I can get a job here working at Safe Refuge and go from there. And I tried that. They didn't want to do it. It was hard to get work. Like I said, COVID was going on. It was a pretty rough fucking time at that point. And I'll tell you guys right now, felon-friendly fucking employers. United States Post Office. I applied for the United States Post Office. They call me in, do a little orientation with me and about 20 other people, and then they tell us to come over here and life scan. You know, put your hand on the fucking thing, and I'm like, well, I ain't gonna get this fucking job. I'm a fucking murderer. And I told the guy, I go, hey, I'm a murderer. We don't give a fuck. So did my life scan. About a week later, these guys, they called me up. I got a job at the post office. I was a union worker. I had a pension, you know, a fucking career job. So I'm working at the post office, just stacking my money. I got a plan here. You know, my plan was to get something, treatment or rehabilitative program going. And what I ended up doing was I met with my wife. My wife had a home that she was renting out. She kind of leaving money on it. And she said, hey, why don't you, I worked graveyard at the post office. She worked during the days, I worked graveyard. So I come home, go to sleep, and she's going to work. And then he'd come home and I'm getting up going to work. He didn't want me working graveyard. So he said, why don't you take over the mortgage on this house and do your sober living thing? And my thing was, I don't want to give up my pension and all this shit, but I finally just took the leap, and it was something I wanted to do. Set up my first sober living, and I'm an owner operator of 3 sober living homes, New Life Transitional Living in Long Beach. House co-ed. It's all male and female in the same house. All the houses are co-ed. We work with paroles, probations, the prison system, SASTA, everything. So my suggestion on things is, if somebody's, an alcoholic, drug addict or something, first we've got to get them off the drugs. So we have a process we use. We'll put them through detox, which would be like one of the programs we work with, Redgate. They'll detox for their 24 to 72 hours, and then they'll go to another program, which is so you have drug treatment programs which do treatment for 90 days, and you kind of go to a recovery bridge housing, which is the next 90 days after your primary treatment. So with me, usually I like people to go through, they need to be coming out of a program, because what we are is we're the next step. What I noticed when I was in treatment, this is how it worked, was, I didn't need the treatment. I already had fucking 11 years clean, but I still had to do this program because I was a lifer coming out. And insurance, Medi-Cal, and all that stuff, they cover 9 months. Okay, this is 9 months. Say for instance, I'm an addict off the street, and I want to get my life together. So I go to this program, and I do their program 3 months of this, 3 months of this, and 3 months of this. Then they're like, okay, your insurance is out, and you need to go. Okay, right there is where I seen there was a gap, because in 9 months is not enough time for me to work on my work history, work on my credit history, and work on my credit score. You need at least 2 years for that. But you're getting kicked back out on the street in 9 months because your medical insurance ain't gonna cover shit no more. So it's a struggle. So, and there was a gap there. So what I did was open up a sober livings that fills that gap. See, so now after you do your 9-month treatment program, or 6, or whatever your Medi-Cal covers, then you call me. Now I'm going to give you housing, affordable housing, in a clean, sober family environment, a nice house, nice area, affordable rent, so you can continue on the path that you've been on, and you can continue, working on that work history, that credit history, that credit score, so you can get on and get to your next spot. And the thing is with me, we're self-pay. We have programs that we can utilize to help pay, a portion of you guys, people's rent, that I do get people signed up with if I can get them qualified. And I have quite a few programs that I look into to do that in case you do need the help. Some people come in and they're like, hey, I got a great job, I got no problem paying the rent. And okay, fine. But they still, they still need to build that credit score up. We teach them how to, build that credit score up, build that work history, because nowadays you got to have 3 times the rent to be able to move into a place. So that's usually how it works with us, but we have a lot of resources to, get people into that sober environment, get them the treatment they need, get them the detox they need. And if they want it, they want it. Some people there are people that do this fucking, we call it treatment shuffle, where they'll just bounce from treatment facility to treatment facility, just because that's how they want to get around. Other than that, yeah, it's been quite well. I got people that have been with me for so long. I got guys that and girls that have been with me for 3-4 years now. And they don't want to go. I mean, one of these days I'll do a tour with you and show you everything, and you probably wouldn't want to go either. But they gotta have that direction. They gotta have. People don't know how to have fun out here that I've noticed. In prison, we sure the fuck didn't know how to have fun. I mean, fun for us was, fucking chaos. These people out here, fun for them is going to the bar and drinking, or going to the Momo and smoking the Pookie. And that shit ain't no fun. Believe me, because once you get to prison, it can get a lot worse. So one of the things we do in our programs is, like, I take people out. I do usually yearly fucking excursions where I'll do a sign up, and I'll take these people out kayaking, or we'll take people out airsofting. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but they shoot BB guns at each other, like paintball crap. So I take my groups out to do that shit, and it's cheap. I mean, I can go kayaking in Naples for $14 for 2 hours. We go out. So we kind of teach them to have fun, because they're really uncomfortable. People don't know how to have fun and do stuff. Fun to them was, partying. Yep. And, so that's what we've been working on. And there's quite a few people out here like us that are trying to do, we know what it's like. We don't want to see anybody go back to prison. We don't want to see people in prison. We know what the problem is. We know it's not, it's the choices we make. It's not, you could say it's a product of my environment, but you're going to keep, playing the victim and not taking responsibility for your own shit. You're not going to make it nowhere. You just got to own everything. It's like in prison going to board and shit. I've had guys going to board, and they're like, well, they're trying to get me for this fucking stabbing I did, but they don't have no witnesses. I never was written up, but they keep asking me about. They asked me all about that shit when I was going to board. They were like, they brought up some shit on the bus that I didn't even remember when I was coming into prison. He did this on this, and I was like, and I don't even know that. I just sat there and said, yeah, I did all that. They were coming up with shit that I didn't even fucking remember I did, and some of the shit I didn't even do, but I told them I did it all. But that's not who I am now. You just got to own that shit to fucking and make that change. Don't try to manipulate the system. You got to make that positive change. And the good thing about all of us that have been in prison, we can come out here, we can be successful, because, when we were in prison and we needed that dope, when we were dope sick, we went and found that fucking dope. And all our drug dealing and all of our criminal activity we were doing, I just take all that energy and reshift it to other things and focus it on those things. And it's easy. It's just reshifting your focus on things. We can achieve anything. You sat in prison for all these years and you survived that. This ain't nothing. Patience. So, yeah, I've been, like I said, got out in 2019, so 6 years. And the first couple of years was pretty tough. Matter of fact, I don't know, you're still on parole?
No, I'm not on parole, no.
So they told me I got a life fucking tail on my parole. They told me, okay, maybe 5 years we'll consider it, but like what I started doing the sober livings and becoming sober living network and stuff. And then they see me working. They're like, well, how the hell you get a federal fucking job? And I'm like, oh. I got off parole in 2 years. So I've been off parole for 4 years now. For the addict who's struggling, man, if you're struggling, we know the struggle is real. We've been there. It's hard to get away from it. You got to make that choice but you have to make the choice. We can't make the choice for you, but if you're struggling and you want that help, reach out. There's so many programs out there. There's so much stuff available to the addict. They consider us disabled individuals. This is a disability. Addiction is a disability. So there's tons of financial support, educational support, and I'm not talking welfare and food stamps. I'm talking other shit. There's a lot of people, because a lot of us, I'm 60 years old now. All older people older than me, they didn't go through this. We've all been through what you're going through. We know the struggle is real. So we're all there to help you and support you. We can't do it for you, but if you made the conscious choice that you want to get clean and you just don't know the direction to go, reach out. We're New Life Transitional Living. We're part of the Sober Living Network. You can Google it. Google Sober Living Network. You'll come up with a lot of programs, sober living homes. Reach out to any one of us. Reach out to me. I'll give you the direction you need. I'm pretty more familiar with the LA, Long Beach area, Orange County area. But we have network members, Northern California, down south, farther, everywhere. Mission Viejo, Temecula, and stuff too. There's even homes right there. Just reach out. You got to reach out. For the addicts who's suffering, just reach out and don't be afraid to ask for help. And that's one of the things. It's hard for us coming out of prison. We don't ever want to ask for help, but you just gotta. Pride and ego is our biggest enemy. Lower that pride, humble yourself, and it's okay to ask for help. And it helps out there.
PICS Lancaster. And excuse me on the tear. Before New Life, before the second chance, there was Lancaster. And back then, nobody was talking about redemption. We were talking about survival. PICS. Geoff Newman. You and me were there when Lancaster was something different. Crazy years, steel doors, concrete, and stories that don't disappear just because the calendar moves. Lancaster, heat coming through the bars, young men dreaming underneath prison stars. 30 years later, I can still see the tear. Every face, every door, every name we held near. PICS was Geoff, and Geoff was there. Same concrete world, same institutional layer. Two men doing time in a California cage, learning how to survive every turn of the page. We weren't talking houses, we weren't talking change. We were learning how to navigate something strange. Lancaster had a rhythm, Lancaster had a sound. When that tear got crazy, you knew what was going down. Excuse me on the tear, I got a story you might wanna hear. From Lancaster steel to a life rebuilt, we carried every memory, every scar, every guilt to this job. Yeah, I remember that name. Same institution, different chapters of the game. From doing time together to new life standing tall. Sometimes the wildest stories don't end at the wall. Cell door slam, custody making rounds. Boots on concrete, that institutional sound. Lancaster wasn't therapy, Lancaster was pressure. Every day tested what you thought you could measure. And somewhere in those crazy years, we crossed paths through the noise and fears. You knew me, I knew you, and nobody back then knew what either man would do. Years went by, the calendar turned, some lessons healed, some bridges burned. I walked out carrying 30 years inside, trying to figure out who I was on the other side. Then I hear G's name, connected to New Life, transitional housing, helping people rebuild a life. And I had to stop and look at the road we crossed. Two guys from Lancaster counting what prison cost, that's the pot. Nobody sees the prison doesn't end when the gate opens. follows you in memories and relationships, and the way you read a room and the stories you tell. But sometimes the story changes. Here's Geoff, I'm shining a light on the past, not rewriting history, not hiding what happened in the past. Lancaster was Lancaster, and we both know the deal. Some memories stay sharp because the concrete was real. From cell doors to transitional doors, from surviving the tear to helping somebody find more. That's the contradiction that makes the story hit. Same California system, different chapters of it. I spent 30 years learning what prison could take, then stepped outside determined to make something break. Break the cycle, break the pattern, break the chain, turn the pain into purpose instead of living in the same lane. Excuse me on the tear, let the old stories come clear. Lancaster years, yeah, we were both right there. Young men breeding California institution leer. Here's Geoff Newman, this was shining that light on the crazy years and the long prison nights. From Lancaster memories to new life. Today the road gets complicated, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Excuse me on the tear. This isn't